Cooper's legal trouble in Landman doesn't come out of nowhere, but it hits hard when it finally lands. Up until that point, Cooper has mostly existed on the edges of the larger power struggles, trying to find his place in an industry that doesn't leave much room for mistakes. When the law finally gets involved, it's a reminder that in this world, being young and well-meaning doesn't protect you from consequences. For Tommy, it becomes one of the most personal crises he's had to deal with, because this isn't about money or contracts. It's about keeping someone he cares about from having their future permanently damaged. Cooper's trouble starts with a situation that's messy rather than malicious. He isn't trying to break the law, but he's working around people and operations that constantly flirt with legal boundaries. The show makes it clear that Cooper doesn't fully understand how quickly responsibility can shift onto him. One bad decision, one moment of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and suddenly he's the one answering questions. That's what makes the storyline feel so real. Legal problems don't always come from criminal intent. Sometimes they come from being the easiest person to blame. Once Cooper is flagged, the system moves fast. Investigators don't care about his intentions, only about what they can prove. He's young, inexperienced, and doesn't have the resources to protect himself. Without Tommy stepping in, Cooper would likely have taken the hit simply because he didn't know how to defend himself. The show doesn't sugarcoat this. It shows how intimidating the legal process can be when you don't have power or knowledge on your side. Tommy's response is immediate and instinctive, which says a lot about who he is beneath the rough edges. He doesn't hesitate to get involved, even though doing so puts him at risk. Tommy understands how these situations work because he's lived in them for years. He knows that silence can be just as dangerous as speaking too freely, and he knows that letting Cooper face this alone would almost guarantee the worst outcome. What's interesting is that Tommy doesn't approach this like a hero. He approaches it like a fixer. The first thing Tommy does is slow everything down. Instead of letting Cooper panic and make things worse, he steps in to control the narrative. He makes sure Cooper stops talking to the wrong people and gets proper legal representation. This might seem obvious, but in the moment, it's the difference between a manageable situation and a disaster. Tommy knows that investigators are often looking for someone who will crack, and Cooper, left on his own, would have been an easy target. Tommy also leans on his network, which is where the show subtly highlights the power imbalance at play. Tommy has relationships with lawyers, local authorities, and industry insiders who understand the bigger picture. He doesn't threaten or bribe anyone outright. Instead, he reframes the situation. He makes it clear that Cooper is not the central problem and that going after him won't actually solve what's wrong. In doing so, Tommy shifts attention away from Cooper and toward more appropriate targets. One of the most important things Tommy does is establish context. He helps show that Cooper was following instructions and operating within the environment created by people above him. This doesn't magically erase responsibility, but it does redistribute it. Suddenly, Cooper isn't the lone bad actor. He's part of a larger system where decisions are made higher up. That distinction is crucial in how the case unfolds because it makes pursuing Cooper less attractive from a legal standpoint. The show also makes it clear that Tommy is walking a fine line. Protecting Cooper means exposing himself to scrutiny. Every time Tommy speaks up, he risks drawing attention to his own role in things. But he accepts that risk without complaint. In many ways, this is where Tommy's sense of responsibility as a father figure comes into sharp focus. He's not just trying to fix a problem. He's trying to prevent a young man from being crushed by a system that doesn't care who it hurts. What ultimately gets Cooper off the hook isn't one dramatic revelation or loophole. It's a combination of pressure, timing, and Tommy's understanding of how power actually works. By the time the dust settles, the authorities decide that pursuing Cooper isn't worth the effort. There are bigger fish to fry, and Cooper doesn't provide enough leverage to justify the resources it would take to make an example of him. In the world of Landman, that's often how justice plays out. For Cooper, being let off the hook isn't a victory so much as a wake-up call. The experience leaves him shaken and more aware of how fragile his position really is. He learns that good intentions don't shield you from consequences, and that survival in this world often depends on who's willing to step in for you. That lesson sticks with him, and it changes how he moves forward. For Tommy, The situation reinforces something he already knows but rarely says out loud. He's not just managing land deals and corporate chaos. He's managing people's lives. Getting Cooper out of trouble costs him energy, credibility, and emotional bandwidth, but he doesn't regret it. If anything, it hardens his resolve to protect those under his wing, even as the walls close in around him. In the end, Cooper's legal trouble serves as a reminder of the show's core theme. Power decides outcomes more often than truth. Cooper gets off the hook not because the system suddenly becomes fair, but because Tommy knows how to navigate it. It's an uncomfortable reality, but Landman doesn't shy away from it. Instead, it uses Cooper's scare to underline just how dangerous this world can be, especially for those who don't yet know the rules.